All right, so arriving back here in after chapter 7, the new feature in the Somniel is the recreation, which we mentioned before. That's the way that you can start building supports more quickly between, between units other than, build supports in pairs other than ones involving a Lear. With a Lear, you can give gifts and you can dine, and you can also dine to increase support between one pair, but it's just really slow. We do have to go run around and pick up some items real quick, and when we do that, we will run into the cutscene that introduces recreation to us. You can arrange recreation at each of the 3 locations from any one of them, so you don't have to run to each point. Normally, you'd want to use this, like I said, to build supports between people who aren't a Lear, but we're still trying to get all of our C supports so that we can get the bond fragment bonuses from achievements for that, and just so that we have a variety of different partners for Lear to work with who give her extra hit. So we'll start by having Lear work with Citrine there, and then so basically we're putting in the new people, and with Lapis there. And I think with the extra attacks that we had with Lapis at the end of the mission, this should get C supports between both of them, or C supports for both pairs here. Because you only need to gain 4 points, and if you gained 1 point in the map at any time, and then you get 3 points from recreation, that should get you to 5. So we'll run that. Yep. And then run this one as well. Good. And we may as well use Alchrist as well. There's other methods to get the C support with him, because we did do more combat with Alchrist than we did with some others, but this should do it. Alchrist, Alir at the stables. Cool. So that's 3 new supports for Alir, and then a variety of other ones. We got Alfred and Saline. Well, I say a variety. That's the only other one. Anna's personal would make her terrible to represent the average gold economy. In the long term, maybe, but in the short term, her luck is so bad that it doesn't really matter at all. Saline and Alfred's A support is very touching and sad. Come on, Nintendo PC. Yikes. This is really rough. Wow. Let me adjust my settings again. That seems to have helped temporarily. I'm going to try to restore that in a second, though. I was playing at double resolution. Okay, that seems to be acceptable. It's still kind of laggy in parts, but we'll see if this holds up. Okay, I'll turn it back down for the Somniel only. So we did get a new animal, but there's not really any point in deploying it, so we'll stick with what we have. This time around, once again, we're not really going to get benefit from the push-ups for the strength bonus, so instead we'll use sit-ups for the HP.
How hard do you want to go? Great job! I'm so proud. Let's do this again sometime.
All right, and fingers crossed that we get a decent amount of stuff from the well. I did try to put together a mod that would make it so you always get 2 Wodows when you use 3-star, when you throw in enough to get 3 stars, but I can't make it work consistently, and I have no idea why. So let's see what happens. We did not get that. All right, Biting Blade, Shielding Art, and Elfire. It's a little bit inconvenient. Actually, I'm not sure how much Shielding Art is worth. Oh, that works. Cool. That's 3 stars worth. We'll just throw that right back in. And we did get our guaranteed Novice book. We did not get an Expert book or an Adept book. Checking my notes while I run back to the kitchen. All right. Okay, next order of business, now that we've recharged the Ancient Well, is running over here and doing donations. Now that we've beaten Chapter 7 and we've completed our first map in Brodia, we're allowed to donate to them. And I would recommend always doing not just level 2, but also level 3. If you run the numbers on like the overall ingot rewards from different levels of investment, and you consider like how much money you have across the whole game, it pretty much always makes sense to get Brodia to level 3. They have the highest multipliers for ingots, so even though Brodia has relatively few maps, this pays off pretty nicely. You get ×5 iron, steel, and silver. Although I don't think there are any maps in Brodia that give you silver normally without doing skirmishes there. But regardless, it's a pretty big boost to your early forging materials for relatively little impact on your ability to afford stuff with your actual money. We have drained all but 1,450 gold now, so we can't buy much now, but if we beat Chapter 8, then we'll get another, what, 30,000 gold, which will be more than enough to cover everything we need. There are paralogues. Are there paralogues that give silver? I think there are only two paralogues in Brodia. There's Ike's paralogue and Lucina's paralogue, and I don't think they give you silver. Maybe they do. Yeah, so Brodia just has 4 maps. Is buying level 4 ever worth it? Yes. If you are trying to do... I want to talk about this more next time once we have the extra cash from Brodia Castle, because that's when you can actually decide whether you want to invest in Brodia to level 4 immediately or not. But the long and short of it is, if you are trying to maximize the ingots you get from maps, then investing in Brodia all the way to level 4 often does make sense. It's not the most economical way to get a really high amount of ingots, but if you want to max out within the band of things that are realistic, like you can't really do more than 2 countries at level 2 and 2 countries at level 4, or all 4 countries at level 3, or some combination in between there. Realistically, with the amount of money in the game, there's a little over 200,000 gold that you can get from all the non-DLC maps, and taking 2 countries to level 4 and the other 2 countries to level 2 takes 90,000 gold. So that's almost half of your funds for the whole game. It could be worth it, depending on what your needs are. If you're not relying on dogs in particular to get you a bunch of silver, then investing big time is like the only way to get a large amount of silver that you might want to use to do all your refinements for the game across the game. And it's almost always a good idea to do some combination of donations that gets you to level 3 or to 12 levels total, because that affects the rewards you get from the late game maps as well. But in any case, if you look at the numbers, it pretty much always makes sense to go Fiorinata level 2 immediately and Brodia level 3 immediately. And from there are different strategies that you might want to employ depending on what your gold situation is, whether you have the DLC and the DLC maps. But in general, this is pretty much always right. The other cool perk about donating to Brodia, which you might not have noticed because I kind of went through the pop list real quickly, is the immediate rewards you get include some extra ingots. So you get, I think it was 10 extra iron for the level 2 and then 5 steel for level 3, which is a nice bonus. Next up for cooking, we're going to go ahead and try to get an S tier meal again. Just to reiterate from before, this is like the last time where that really matters, because in most cases for the rest of the game, after beating chapter 8, you can just buy tonics to make up any shortfalls from having a lower quality meal. As long as you don't get one of the truly awful meals, like D rank or better, you're pretty much fine. We do get a new S tier cook though. Not only do we have Boucheron, Clan, and Saline in the stable, we also have Alchrist, so that's something he's good at.
We decided to take turn. It's good to see you.
Does that 200k take into account normal emblem paralog rewards? Yes. It's like 202, I think, total, or 203, if you get all the gold from everything. Clan's cooking, awesome. Doesn't Alchrist make G-rank meals too? I think everyone has a tiny chance to make G-rank meals, actually. I had Clan make one once. We just disposed of Saline's meal. So technically, if you want to optimize your cash and you're not using the meal for anything, you can sell it for 50 gold. If you care about that kind of thing. For this meal, we're going to cook with Etier and Boucheron, who are 2 other people we don't have any supports with yet. Clan is not an expert in one of these meals that gives you +1 to everything important, but he is eager to make hot crepes.
I'm pretty good at cooking, I think.
You also don't get the packed meal if you have a D rank result or worse. So you do technically have to rig for a decent meal if you want to use.
Allow me to present my home cooking.
I can work this off later.
If you want to use
Hey,
favorite
that's
food.
not bad.
Man, you let me down. Can't you shove meals into the well? I mean, I guess they're worth 100 gold,
Engage.
so yeah. Right, for this edition of Arena Training, we will have Vander go in with a compact axe. No one else really cares for the experience yet. I mean, the main people we're trying to train would rather just get full credit for SP by doing normal combat instead of half credit for arena training. And the other scrubs that we have right now are pretty far from leveling up. So it's not like the situation with Etier where we were able to set up a level gain for her in Chapter 4 that made her gain HP, which then gave Yunaka more experience or anything like that.
I am Vander, 32nd Steward of the Dragon.
The H, I did forge my Levin sword up to +1. That's the only thing that happened. And,
Continue to improve.
oh wow. Just got murdered by Sigurd. Most times, Vander tends to win. This early on. Yeah, we forged the Levin sword to +1, but otherwise we didn't forge anything up. We will upgrade some more weapons shortly.
You're as strong as I expected.
Shall we say, with age comes wisdom.
The arena is Vander's best source of experience and SP for a while. So if you're dead set on training him up,
Soldier of Brodia.
you kind of do just want to throw him in the arena every single time you can.
I wasn't strong enough.
Shall we say, with age comes wisdom.
Am I going to be doing a guide on FE Engage like FE Conquest? Isn't this that? Oh, I totally forgot that I was doing this to alter the cooking RNG. I may have to redo some of that. We'll see what happens. You know what? I have enough other rounds of combat I'm going to do in there that I'm not that worried about missing a few chances. So this time, yeah, let's do Etier Boucheron. Hot crepe.
I'm pretty good at cooking. I think. So I add this, I stir it, I chop it. Wait. It turned out really well.
Whoa!
Okay, good. Thank you, clan.
I feel weird giving you leftovers, but,
That gives us 2 more conversations. So now I believe, yep, we have C supports with every single unit. Pretty cool. And that means we'll get the achievements from all of those. And then the only remaining support achievements, I think, are getting a B support and an A support with someone. And a ring and a bond support, or pact support, I suppose. Okay, so back to the arena. Thoughts on forging early brave weapons? It's probably pretty powerful. You can get an early brave weapon by donating to Brodia, which is one reason why you might want to do that, taking it to level 4. Okay, we're done Vander's training. This time, we're going to stick Clan in here. He actually needs to get a weapon equipped first. And a ring. Oh, no, it doesn't matter for emblem training. Put Clan in here with Marth and take them to level 5.
I'll be your partner.
I am Marth.
Yeah. Oh, I lost.
We don't actually need to take him to level 10 with Marth yet, though, because we're not going to begin the clan training arc now. That'll be... We'll have to wait for one more mission. But because we don't have to do that yet, we don't have to spend an extra 1,500-ish bond fragments, so we're in good shape bond fragment-wise. We don't have to be so worried about them anymore. We'll put Alfred with Celica to get all the way to level 10, or level 5, sorry.
Today's workout begins now.
I'm Celica. It's my pleasure.
Thanks for showing me what I still need to work on.
And
Next up is Vander against Micaiah. Hopefully he should win that. Basically, we're in this for the staff proficiency more than anything else. Also tome proficiency. I don't think this is like necessary for anything, but I'm interested in having Vander do staff bot stuff, so I want to set that up for later.
I have been waiting for this.
I am Micaiah. It's a pleasure.
For the record, I don't think it's all that useful or a good idea to invest in Vander, but he is very funny, which has a value all its own. Oh, did something... hold on. Is the game audio still freaking out? It's fine for me, so I think it's a stream issue. Okay, let me see here. It's better now? Okay. That's really strange. Maybe it's just like my internet connection, something wrong with the upload quality. Stream health from YouTube says it's fine though, so Sorry about that. I don't know what I can do to fix it, unfortunately. But I just muted it and then re-enabled the game audio, and I guess it's working better now. All right, and lastly, Yunaka and Sigurd. Because Yunaka has all the SP she could possibly ask for now, so she's ready to buy Canter.
You think to duel me?
She will not win.
You got me.
And with the lovely 1.3.0 patch, we can inherit skills right from here, which means that we can take Alfred, who already got the requisite bond rank with Sigurd a long time ago, and have him buy Canter right now. And equip it. And after that training, we can have Yunaka do the same. So I've been asked in some comments on previous videos and also in the chat here today, like, is Canter always the right choice? And I think Canter is a really, really, really good skill. If you told me that there are specific setups that work better, like if you go for, say, speed +3 and sword power 2 or something instead of buying Canter, and like that's a meaningful like benefit that you can get on someone, and it's like it optimizes their combat and maybe it lets you do something special, I believe you. I'm sure there are situations like that in this game. So in a really, really tightly designed playthrough where you need to hit certain benchmarks and maybe you're doing LTC and you don't have enough time to, like, you don't have enough turns to spend training people, you need to be buying those key skills to hit those benchmarks. Yeah, I could imagine Canter not being that worthwhile in some of those cases. And maybe that would mean you'd have to dedicate some reposition bots or other movement support to make that unit get to the right positions without having, you know, an extra 2 move that they can use after actions on player phase. But outside of that, 2 bonus movement is just amazing. It's like, movement is the best stat in these kinds of games. The more you play them, the better you get at them, the more you realize that, like, pretty much everything you can do is really dictated by how far your units can move. That's like the #1 constraint on your action economy. So yes, in the last couple chapters, I've been working around the fact that I did not have enough bond fragments to buy Canter on Alir. And in fact, we're still not going to buy it because we're not going to need it for what we do in the next mission either. You can find workarounds for it. You can use units in specific ways so that they get to the right positions without having Canter. So my verdict on it is basically, there's a chance that Canter is not the absolute best skill to have in one of your 2 skill slots, but I would always recommend you buy it on everyone anyway. Because unless you've got something really specific planned and you need something else, you absolutely need some other configuration of skills to make things work. The extra movement you get from Canter is just way more valuable than anything else you could possibly achieve. And the fact is, you can get, like, not every unit has enough stats to do this, but there are enough good units to cover all your combat needs with Canter and 1 stat boosting skill. So it's not like it's impossible to get top tier combat performance without investing both skills for specifically combat purposes. And Canter is like the best utility you can possibly get. It's relatively cheap, and it dramatically improves the range of actions that you can take across your whole army, especially as you get more and more people who have it. Yeah, I agree with Septi. If you're in a situation where you have to question if Canter is the best option, then Canter is the best option. Swift Weasel says, Canter's really nice, but Arm Shield and Favorite Food are definitely worth considering at this point. Yeah, I agree. I just think, especially given, like, with the well economy now, you can pretty much get Canter on anyone if you want to. And for the specific units who might want to have other utility skills like Arm Shield and Favorite Food, they can just train up a little bit more and get it. That's what we're going to do with Alfred. He's got 67 SP, he needs 133 more to get Favorite Food. That's totally doable. And Canter is also one of the unique things that all these early units can get that the mid-game joiners like Kagetsu and Marin and Penet and what's his face, Pandreo, don't have for a while. That's a notable advantage. Sometimes it doesn't make up for their raw stat leads, but it's a great feature that's exclusive to all these early units and can't be had on anyone else until after you beat Chapter 17. You still love holdout Vantage shenanigans? I don't blame you. I think like things like holdout Vantage or Vantage Wrath, they're really cool. And I wish they mattered more. And you couldn't do all the combat stuff with just Canter and Speed +3 or whatever. It would be awesome if there were like a greater dichotomy between the units who have those specialized skills and the ones who just have like, here's extra movement and extra stats. But there just really isn't. That's one of my frustrations with the way this game is built. So I said we're not going to get Clan all the way to level 10 with Marth now, but by boosting him to Bond 5 before we do ring polishing, again, we get extra credit towards those higher Bond ranks that we wouldn't get if we polished first and then did the arena training.
Much better.
We'll have Alfred continue to build ranks with Celica because he has to get to Bond level 8 to inherit Favorite Food.
That looks so much better. Thank you.
Sigurd, we still haven't gotten Canter or the requisite Bond rank on Alir. We'll keep working on that.
This ring is filthy, don't you think? Overdoing things a bit? Is that not a waste of thank you? Now I can stand by you with pride.
Septi. Shame Sigurd can't teach galloping. It's really not that much harder to learn to gallop than Canter. Yeah. I'll take your word for it. I am not a horse boy. It's one of those opportunities in life that I did pass up. I have a family friend who has a little ranch in Wyoming and trains horses, and I could have learned, but I just didn't. Let's see, last one. Oh yeah, Micaiah, watched by Vander.
This ring is filthy. You can move on. Thanks for taking care of this for me.
Yes, Madsen Zero. Canter is a much better name for the extra movement ability than Canto was. All right, so I said earlier we would do some more forging. Now it's time to do that. We have a fair amount more iron and steel from that last mission, and a little bit of money to play with. Not a ton, though. So the key things we're going to get now our Slim Sword all the way to level 3. So this will give it the same might as an ordinary Iron Sword, but with way more hit and dodge. Second, we're going to take a Javelin to +1, which will cost us another 500 gold and 30 iron. And with our remaining funds, or we will upgrade our Compact Axe to +2 for some extra hit more than the damage, really. That only costs 200 gold, so we're still under budget.
I'll be here.
For that, we have a whole bunch of achievements to get, so we're back above 2,000. Very good. And now we've done everything. We did go dump our items back in the well. I just want to make sure of that, because we did get a biting blade and we threw that in. So that's all taken care of. Another bonus we got from donating to Brodia was a spare Wodow, which is not that great a weapon. It's slightly stronger than an Iron Sword and same hit and has extra crit for a little bit more weight. Wodow is fine. Crits are not outright. I mean, in a lot of cases, crits are good in this game. I won't sell them short. It's just not that helpful right now because we don't have the resources in terms of engravings or really anything else to make crits all that helpful. This is basically just a sword that has slightly better stats than iron. And that's about all right now. And as you can see, there are a few more glowing spots in the Somniel. There's like 2 more by Sami, and there's another one by the stables. Those are just going to be more item pickups that we can get, but we don't need to grab those. We're all set, and we should be able to leave. We did get our supports. We did do the bond conversation. We did arena. We did setups. We used the well. We did donations. Cooked. We did recreation, forged, bought Canter. Did we equip Canter on Unaka? We did. Yeah, that should be it. All right, so we're going to keep forging on ahead through Chapter 8. We're not going to go to any of the paralogues yet. And when we do that, we'll have to reconfigure our army a little bit and talk about some promotions. Oh yeah, I did forget the jukebox. Oh well. How much am I doing this evening? I'm going to go through Chapter 8, and that'll be the end of the stream. Am I going to save paralogues for Jade? I don't plan to. I'm saving them for someone else. I'm going to try restoring my graphic settings real quick.
I underestimated how far you...
I seem to be no longer having all the stuttering issues from what I can tell. So hopefully that'll hold up and we'll be able to have prettier gameplay for the actual battle. Right, so here in Chapter 8, this is a defense/kill boss map. You lose if the enemies get to this area, but also you can just end the map really quickly by going and attacking Ivy. It's really not that hard. You don't have Micaiah rewarp shenanigans yet, so you can't just like jump straight to her, but you do have Warp Ragnarok. It is possible to get to her really quickly and just defeat her. But we're not going to rush this mission. We're going to try to go like pretty fast, but we're going to eliminate all the other enemies and take out the reinforcements along the way, and then finish off Ivy once we're done with that. On this mission, we're going to try to deploy all of our high-level units, and we're going to take out Etier and Boucheron, and actually Saline. And Louis in favor of Alchrist's squad. Not because they're like necessarily better than these units or anything in particular, but they are higher level, which means Micaiah healing is going to be worth more. Just because if the level gap is more than 3 between the person with Micaiah and the person they're healing, then they'll get a lot less experience from that. So if you were using, say, Micaiah on Louis or Boucheron or Etier, you wouldn't be worried about that because they're so low level that pretty much everyone is way higher than them anyway. For our emblem rings, we're going to keep... Actually, I think we're just... Yeah, we'll cycle out everyone. Instead of using Celica this time, Alir is going to use Sigurd. So we're going to learn... We're going to make up some of that bond rank we haven't earned yet the manual way. Alfred's going to take Celica this time.
Of course.
The point being that now that he has Canter and he's a bulky high movement unit, he can just warp into different spots on the map and tank a bunch of hits while he's there. So he doesn't necessarily have to kill everything in one round like he was doing last map with Marth. He just needs to be a warm body to help set up kills for everyone else. He doesn't need a lot of training anymore because he's already level 12 and he has the main skill he needs. Let's see. So if Alfred's not using Marth anymore, he's freed up. And now it's time to put him back on Chloe. This is the return of Super Chloe. Not only that, well, she'll become even more super in a second. Lastly, for Alchrist, he's taking Micaiah. This is really just for demonstration purposes more than anything. I don't think Alchrist himself is all that good. If you're looking for someone else to invest in, I think Citrine and Lapis and Etier all have clearly more merit than Alchrist does in this game, unfortunately. I do think Alchrist is really cool and he's fun to use, but he's just not that great. But he's useful as a demonstration because he is one of the characters who's in a terrible SP hole, and we're going to try to use Micaiah to pull him out of that really quickly. So that's part of why we want to make sure the rest of our team is really high in level. Since Alchrist is already level 10, he really benefits from having everyone else also be level 10 or higher. So he's going to participate just as our healing bot, and we're going to see how he can get to 1500 or 1000 SP relatively quickly over this chapter and hopefully the next one. We're not going to get to 1000 SP in one mission, not at the pace we're going. We're going to distribute our... Hold on. Oh, I didn't change who's selected. That's why I did that. Yeah, I forgot to select Chloe. Okay. Put Marth on Chloe again. Now, apply a bond ring to Yunaka. Cool. Next thing to do before we actually get assigned weapons is decide who we're promoting. So going through the team, we have Actually, Aleer is not quite at level 10, so she can't promote yet. We could have gotten her there if we'd put her in the arena. But instead, we're going to use this mission to get her another level, basically. So she'll be ready for promotion after this. It's not a huge rush. Vander's already promoted, obviously, and Fram can't. You could promote Alfred. The main benefit to that right now would be that he would be able to use Reprisai. And that's a significant upgrade. It's a bit stronger than the Steel Lance. It also is lighter, so he just performs better. More accurate, too. And if Alfred were to promote, he would get +1 build, +1 strength, +1 speed, 2 defense, 2 res. Those are pretty good benefits, but as I discussed earlier, I don't think Alfred is really worth focusing. Like, Alfred's role, if you want to keep using him in the long term, is not really doing combat primarily. It's mostly going to be support oriented, and he does really well with that as an Avenir, but it's not something you have to prioritize. He can wait till one of the later Master Seals. And that might mean that, yes, he'd get slightly lower growth because the promoted class is better growth than the Noble does. But it's not worth worrying about the extra, 1/5 of a point that he could have gotten in defense and resistance if he promoted an Avenir now instead of at level 15 or 16 or whatever. What you really want to do with your promotions, with the first 3 Master Seals that you get, is give them to units who are going to stick around in the long term and have major combat potential. I think that's the best way to dedicate those. With the caveat that you probably also would like to gain staff access with at least one of them. So promoting to Griffin is helpful, or taking a mage like Citrine and making them a Sage, so they get staff. They can use staves. That's also nice. It's just helpful if you're not relying entirely on your Chi Adepts for healing, because you do have whoever has Micaiah as well, but basically the more staff access you have, the better, and you probably want to expand the number of units who can use staves through at least one of your promotions. There are several characters in the other game that have merit as long-term combat people. I don't think Alfred or Yunaka are them. And I just said Alchrist is not that good, actually. Citrine is pretty good. She has the advantage of having a lot of magic. So basically, the game plan for a lot of Mage Knights is to have a lot of speed and use... what's it called? And use Bolganone. For Citrine, you might instead be relying on her high magic and using Elfire to get to the same doubling thresholds. Citrine can double plenty of enemies if you want her to, if you just devote the resources necessary to make that happen. And she does really well with that. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not that huge on the Olwen ring. Like, even the best person to use it, which is Citrine, doesn't really need Olwen to do mage combat successfully. So I don't think it's that important to prioritize. Lapis is like, as a long-term combat unit, is like the bare minimum to be acceptable as a physical fighter. She has pretty good base strength and speed. She does fine if you go into something like Warrior or potentially even Wyvern Knight. But she is going to be kind of at the lower end of the stat spectrum compared to some of the other people who can do those same roles. And yeah, as Marion Barry says, the Lapis benchmark, like, basically if you plug in your average gross calculator and you see someone who's like worse than Lapis at the same level, that basically means they're not good at combat. Lapis is kind of like the dividing line between you're acceptable and you're not. Chloe is amazing because she's insanely fast and has really good mixed attacking options in the early game that then translate into really amazing magical offense in the late game, especially with the advent of the Ancient Well. So she's the one we're going to promote, but we'll come back to her in a second. Etier is really strong. She's not quite as strong as the likes of Amber or Hennette, who both like to become warriors, so they're also bow units. And Etier does want to become a warrior too. Warrior has a lot more to offer her than Sniper or Bow Knight do. The cool thing about her as a warrior is that she does get B rank bows instead of C, so she can use Silver, which gives her a higher might option to use against enemy flyers for the extra effective damage. And against lower enemies, it's just more might overall than like a steel bow, which makes up some of the differences in raw strength. So Etier is pretty cool if you want to train her up. We wouldn't be promoting her now, obviously, but if you were giving her Micaiah and then getting her to level 10 quickly, she can perform pretty well. Boucheron fails the Lapis test. Very sad. He gets a ton of build and basically nothing else to do with it. Sailing is an interesting option because at this stage of the game, she's much more effective at the whole classic Jagan role than Vander is. We just saw her pop off with Sigurd on the last mission, and she can continue doing that for a while with her Levin sword overrides and everything. The problem is, like Alfred, Saline... Well, the upside is also Saline's one of those units who gets staff access on promotion, so she can help you out with that kind of utility. But like Alfred, she's kind of badly positioned for long-term combat purposes, just because her magic and speed don't hold up compared to a lot of other candidates for Mage Knight or Sage or anything like that. So I think this is worth considering because you get the staff access, and Saline just continues to do really well for a while with the weapons she has. But it's not quite as good as some other stuff. Louis, I think, just... yes, you can make him a great knight. It makes him a lot better than he is. But he's just so awkward to use on Maddening, because if you train him up and he gets 3 more points of defense, and then I forget what he gets on promotion, but it's... it's 1 more point. Okay. Yeah, I think if you level him up 3 times or 4 times and then promote, I think he gains a total of 4 defense. Puts him at 20. If he's got a meal boosting that, it's yeah, he continues functioning as a stealth unit who can't get attacked and can block a space, but he's just not that efficient on actual combat. And I just don't think it's that impressive. And then Clan, obviously, he's way behind everyone else in terms of level right now. But the cool thing about Clan is if you do train him as a mage, he does a lot of the same things as anyone else does. He keeps up with Citrine. Well, you equip him a little bit differently. He's the really fast mage, so you give him a heavy tone to make up for his lower magic growth, and he does just fine. He holds up perfectly well for a while. He's not like a top tier magical combat unit in the way some others can be, but he's perfectly adequate. If you do reclass him at level 1, then there are some more interesting avenues for him that he does sort of uniquely, because his combination of really low level and decent spaces and really good growths in everything other than magic make for some interesting options that we'll hopefully see later in a future stream. So obviously we're not going to do that now. Our real choices at the moment are between Saline, Chloe, Lapis, Citrine, Alcryst, Unaka, and Alfred. And Chloe is by far the best. Chloe is maybe the only early unit who I would call amazing throughout the entire game. If you just invest in her properly. Obviously, because she's an early unit, if you just don't give her resources in the way that we have so far, then she's not going to blossom into like her full power. But if you do stick with her, she is absolutely amazing. Can do a lot of stuff that no one else can. So the choice before us now is between Sword Griffin Knight or Lance Griffin Knight or Wyvern Knight with swords and lances. We didn't get her any other proficiencies besides swords. She comes with lance and staff. I know that a lot of people really like Wyvern Knight Chloe. The obvious selling points being it gives her a 4 extra strength, which is huge, and also 3 more defense, so she becomes more survivable, physically speaking. That combines with 4 more HP. So you look at that and you're like, okay, this patches up everything that was wrong with her. She's already really fast. She doesn't need more speed. But she gets way more strength, way more defense. And that just makes her a great unit all around who I can use anywhere. But Wyvern Knight is not as good as Griffin Knight. For several reasons. One is staff access. Having staves is a huge benefit. Even though it's only C rank, having things like obstruct and rewarp is really, really helpful. And if you look at how Wyvern Knight Chloe actually grows, she's basically, she's significantly weaker than Lapis, even despite giving this big strength bonus now. I think that's right? Yeah, if Lapis were to change to Wyvern Knight at this level, she would have 15 strength. So she's 2 behind Lapis already, and only slightly ahead on speed. And Lapis is already kind of brushing up against struggling on kill thresholds as a Wyvern. If you do this with Chloe, she's going to be really struggling to perform well in combat past midway through the soul mark. So it's tempting, but it just, because it makes a great unit even greater and covers up all of her weaknesses, all of her apparent weaknesses, but it just doesn't hold up. So you miss out on staff access as Wyvern. You don't really hit the combat benchmarks you want on the physical side. And your magic is worse. Whereas in Griffin Knight, you get extra magic and a much higher magic growth. You actually get more speed. Wyvern Knight gets 2 build. Griffin Knight gains 1 build and 2 speed, which is very helpful. It lets Chloe wield heavier weapons than she could otherwise. She still gets a significant strength boost. She gets 2 points in that and 1 in magic. And her defense is better. And her res is better too. Whereas Wyvern, you're sacrificing resistance. But most importantly, the Levin Sword is an insanely strong weapon. Lance Griffin is not very good. This is what I used on my first run until I eventually gave up on it and switched to sword. Because the main distinction is, if you have lances, then you can use a physical 1-2 range weapon and also the flame lance, so you have the ability to attack from both sides at range. But javelins and the flame lance are both so much worse than the Levin Sword that Sword Griffin just blows them out of the water. You do get S rank in lances, but that doesn't matter at all until way later in the game, and the only thing you really get from that is access to the 1-2 range Brionac lance. But Chloe, as we just discussed, Chloe doesn't hold up as a physical fighter. So you're slapping your S rank lance to attack physically with her bad strength. It just doesn't really do anything for you. But with magic and the Levin sword, Chloe becomes insanely strong, insanely fast, and can just pile on a whole bunch of extra bonuses on top of that, between spirit dust and emblem bonuses and potentially things like sword power to keep building on her offensive benchmarks with a really strong 1-2 range weapon that hits resistance. And she's super fast. And with some of the mechanics that become available starting after Chapter 11, her lack of physical bulk doesn't really matter. You have so many ways to negate enemy damage that all you really care about on someone like Chloe is how fast is she and how strong is she. And the best way to maximize both of those things is to go Griffin Knight, specifically Sword Griffin Knight, and start using the Levin sword on her. So that's what we're going to do. Now, after having that entire conversation, I do want to say that, like, you don't have to do this. I think what I showed off in the first stream from Prologue to Chapter 6 is a really good game plan that kind of lays out useful steps to get yourself started without really making you commit to anything. It just makes sure that you get enough SP for Canter on Aaliyah really quickly, and then lets you power level Chloe in Chapter 6 to get her to promotion level if you want, but also just lets her continue cruising as a lance flyer if you want to keep her around for utility, for like flyer utility for a while. If you want to train someone else, you absolutely can. Like, this game can be beaten with any team. There's lots of different ways to do this. I think Chloe is the best choice objectively for like what will maximize your team's power and will scale best later in the game. But there's plenty of other stuff you could do, and it all works. So, and like even the sequence of missions I've taken so far, going to Chapter 7 right after 6 and then doing this right after 7, it's not required. If you want to use Anna or Jean, go do those first. Like, they're perfectly fine units. You can train them up and have a lot of fun with them, and they have plenty to offer. They're just not the absolute cream of the crop. And if you want them to be, well, it's not too late to go train them anyway. Okay, we do need to reconfigure our inventories again. So I just talked about how much we want Chloe to use the Levin sword. She's going to hold off on that for a while. Aaliyah's going to borrow it for a bit. In fact, let's go ahead and just optimize so that we store all the inventory from people who are not deployed. We got Levin sword on Aaliyah. We'll keep her personal sword in the Wodao there. And Vulnerary, that's good. Commander needs a hand axe, and we'll have him take the compact axe for accuracy's sake. So hand axe, compact axe, great axe, and revanche. That's good. Ram should not use mend. He should use heal. And she can take a vulnerary. Alfred's going to use the javelin. Nothing else really matters again. But his other lances should be good enough. We'll take away his iron lance. Yunaka just needs a dagger. Alchrist is using the longbow now. Steel bow, iron bow, and he also needs the mend staff, since he has Micaiah. Mend gives you, I believe it's 5 more base XP than heal does. So unless you're really trying to conserve staff usages, and that's a major problem for you, you're better off putting your higher rank healing staff on your Micaiah users so you can maximize the XP gains for them. Citrine can just use Fire and Thunder. Lapis wants... She's actually going to carry a couple items. Others. The Armor Slayer for one. And the Slim Sword and the Iron Blade. That should be good. And then Chloe is left with just an Iron Sword for now. But of course she also has Smart's weapons, which are more important. So we just reset Chloe to level 1. She's converted all that extra SP she had, or all the... She's flushed away all that XP she had that got her really close to the next level, level 11 as a Lance Flyer. But that means that she gets to gain a full 100 XP before she levels up again, so she won't slow down her SP gains. That will help us reach 1000 SP on this mission so that Chloe too can buy Canter. So we have to look for where we can best use Mercurius. I should point out that even though Chloe was level 10 and now she's promoted, that doesn't affect her experience gain at all. So promotion doesn't count for your internal level. As far as the experience rewards are concerned, Chloe is still level 10. When she levels up next, she'll become level 11 and then 12 and then 13 as usual. So on this map, we have to look for a place where our Mercurius can be put to the best use. The left side is really bad because there are several Lance users over here, whereas on the right side, we just have Sword and Axe users, so that's perfect. We want Chloe to go over there. We'll put... And then for the left side, we're going to focus most of that experience into 2 of our now 5 emblem wielders, because we're about to get control of Diamant, who has Roy. We'll talk about Diamant a little bit more once we actually gain control of him. But I think Diamant, like Alchrist, is not that good in the long term, but he's in a much better SP situation. And he works perfectly fine for the time being. You may as well train him here while he has a emblem access for free. So on the left side, well, on the right side, we're going to use Chloe and also Alir. Alir being another unit who really only has sword access, plus Rider's Bane, which isn't that good on this map. On the left side, our primary combatants will be Alfred and Diamant working together, and then of course we'll have our designated Micaiah holder doing mainly healing duty. And pretty much everyone else is just going to be around for support, and also trying to get themselves damaged on purpose so that Alchrist can get more XP. To let us attack the left side quickly, we need to be able to destroy this fence. So we're going to put Alchrist here, where he can shoot the fence with his longbow. And Vander on this spot, where he can ride south 6 spaces and hand axe the fence to destroy it. Next few positions, we'll have Lapis come over here so she can help out on this side and maybe build support with Alchrist. Citrine can help on the right side instead, where her range can be useful. It doesn't really matter where Alfred starts because he can just warp wherever he needs to go. Yunaka should go here so that she can reach this barricade and weaken that on turn 1. Ram can just march south from this spot. And if Chloe's in this bottom right corner, then she's able to fly to this spot, which puts her in range of the Axe Fighter, the Sword Fighter, and both Sword Fighters. So she should be able to kill all 3 of them on enemy phase with Mercurius, so that'll give her a big experience infusion right away. And that should be everything we need to do. We're not going to buy any more tonics this time. The only ones that we can buy are like Luck and Res, and I think that's it. And neither of those are going to be very helpful here. Okay.
Huh? Yeah. But ready? If we.
All right. So Amber is one of those units who's very similar to Etier, actually. He just has a ton of strength. He makes a great warrior. He almost rivals, actually does rival Panette in raw strength. His personal skill makes him technically more accurate in some situations than Panette is, but otherwise he loses out on dex and a crit ability that she has. So I don't think he scales quite as well as Panette does, but since he joins early, he can get Canter, which is a distinguishing feature. And otherwise, they're very comparable. So Amber's pretty cool. It's just a shame that he looks horrible as a warrior, so keep that in mind. We're not going to train him now because he doesn't have a ring at all. But there's, since we saved all those paralogues, there's plenty of time to train him later if we want to. Septian with the count. If Amber goes Berserker, he'll beat her by 1 strength level per level. Anything else will be 1 point behind. Cool. Then as for Diamant, like I said, he's just a guy, mostly. He's like barely better than Lapis right now. But he does have way more SP than she does because he starts with 800. He's already level 11, so if he gets to level 13 and he has a ring equipped, an emblem ring equipped the whole time, he'll get to Canter pretty smoothly. And he makes great filler just for this opening arc. He might be worse than Alchrist overall, maybe not. He's like basically like slightly better than Lapis if reclassing weren't a thing. And there's some cool stuff he can do from his personal class, having S swords and A axes. But just generally speaking, he's not that impressive in his personal class, and if he moves to any other class, his stats tank. And ideally in this game, you want your combat units to have 6 moves, so he just kind of falls behind. He's perfectly serviceable. He does his job well in these first few chapters. But he's just not one of those people who really demands an early Master Seal, and he probably, unless you want to use him, which I had tremendous fun doing in my first run, he's not that impressive. Anyhow, we are going to train him for the time being, so we're going to have fun with that. Let's start off by having Alir engage Sigurd.
Lend me your strength.
And she's just going to run over to the right with her extra movement here and attack this closest sword fighter. Doesn't matter at all whether we hit, this is just because we can. The main thing we're moving over here for is just to stand at this spot, which will be adjacent to where Chloe goes. She engages Marth.
Emblem Engage.
And equips Mercurius for herself. And also trades with Alir to take away the Levin sword. So she's left holding Liberation. And she can just wait here with Mercurius. These sword fighters have 16 attack, and this axe fighter has 25. So she will one-round them because she doubles all these enemies. But with only 9 defense, she takes 7 from each sword fighter, and then 16 from this axe fighter, which is exactly enough to kill her with 30 HP. She has decent chances to dodge, but if she doesn't, then she would die. If it weren't for the fact that Alir is adjacent, providing an extra point of defense effectively. So that's the main purpose of moving Alir here. And unfortunately, we did have to engage Sigurd to move this far because it was 6 tiles away from Alir's starting position instead of just 5. We do want to break down both of these fences. This one's a lower priority though, so we'll just hit it once with Yunaka and then we'll destroy it later. When Fram runs down here, she should use Obstruct to block the space to the left of this Axe Fighter. It's not strictly required, but it does prevent the mage on the right from going onto that spot. We really want this guy to run due north straight at Chloe, and sometimes he goes slightly left because that's also equally close to the next target, which is the fence. So blocking that spot just guarantees that he always goes this way, which makes for better positioning on our next turn. Diamant just runs south because he can't really reach anything right now. And Amber just waits above him. So next, Alchrist moves down, and he attacks this fence. We're going to try to finish this mission in 8 turns. So that will give us 2 engage cycles with Micaiah. We haven't engaged her yet. We'll engage her on turn 2. That'll take us through turn 4. Then we'll recharge her on turn 5 and have her again for the last 3 turns of the mission.
As your steward.
Vander goes ahead and breaks this wall.
I'm at
And
100%.
Lapis and Citrine can just run south.
Follow me.
That leaves just Alfred. Alfred engages Celica.
Emblem Engage.
He's going to warp over, but before he does, he equips Seraphim. Interestingly, there are 3 enemies on this map who are corrupted, and they're all right here. These 2 Lance Fighters are corrupted, and this Axe Fighter is as well. I don't really know why they did it this way, and didn't just make them Elusian soldiers, but they did. Actually, there is another corrupted here in this other Axe Fighter. But that means that Seraphim is effective on all of them. So if Alfred jumps down here and attacks this Axe Fighter once with Warp Ragnarok, then on enemy phase he'll be able to kill with Seraphim. Kind of a neat trick.
It's over.
Yeah, so Septi's mentioning in the chat that like Diamant isn't bad because he doesn't like work in combat. He's like, if you stick him in his personal class, he's basically right there, like maybe right above the Lapis line. It's just that other people can do the same things as him with more movement and like just better stats overall. So like sword, like Septi's saying, Sword Axe Wyvern on most characters just like does all the things that Diamant wants to do. So that's just where he comes short. But otherwise he works out just fine. It's totally functional as a unit.
We
All right, our castle has a ballista. We are never going to use it. Instead, we'll just have, we'll break through this barrier and we'll start branching out. So Citrine just runs over, not too far down because we don't want her to get her attacked by this Axe Flyer. She breaks the fence. And we can try to maximize our healing experience here by having Yunaka attack this Axe Flyer. With Canter, she can go up here next to Chloe. And we can sort of build a wall with all of our units on the right here. First, we can have Aaliyah run around and attack this Wind Mage from above. And move up one space, and then Chloe can run or fly down here and kill off this Wind Mage in one hit without taking a counterattack, using Mercurius. And that'll give her another, since she's level 10 and he's level 11, that'll give her another 15 times 2 XP. So she got 90 XP from the first 3 kills. This will take her to her next level. Yeah, I think we may as well use Lodestar Rush.
My prayers are with you.
I won't let you do what you want.
More offense. Oh boy. Emulator freaking out. Alright, so over here we're going to try to set up some kills for Demont. Because at this point, Alfred being level 13 is not going to get as much experience. It's not decayed too much. I think he gets 9 for a kill at this level. But we'd rather give that to Demont if we can. And we're not in a huge rush to get all the way down here, so we'll just set up a nice formation here. Vander moves one step to the left. That opens up the space below Demont. So now Lapis can go trade swords with him. And she actually wants to get rid of all of her stuff in exchange for his Iron Sword. So give him the Slim Sword and the Armor Slayer and the Iron Blade. And then she just waits there. Fram can set up a chain guard at this position. And now that Demont has all of his swords and Fram's already in place, you can go over here and engage Roy, and then use Roy's emblem weapon, the Lance Reaver, to kill the Lance Fighter.
That was a fierce battle.
The Lance Reaver reverses the weapon triangle, so it has disadvantage against axes. Now, if the AI were smarter than it is, it would probably make the Axe Flyer attack first and try to break Demont, but we'd block that with the Chain Guard, and then we could have Demont fight all these enemies himself. Unfortunately, it seems that the Lance Fighter moves before the Axe Flyer does, no matter what. So if we don't want to burn our Chain Guard blocking him, we do have to get rid of him. So Alfred moves one space to the right, next to some people he supports. And you can use Seraphim twice with Echo to kill off the Lance Fighter.
Allow your soul the rest it deserves.
He's just going to stay right here. Obviously, at 1 HP, he is in danger, but we can fix that with Algrist.
I'm sorry you're stuck with me.
It's not the biggest great sacrifice in the world, but it is an important one.
If this means survival.
And lastly, Amber just waits here. So a cool thing is because that flyer is weighed down by her axe, Demont one-rounds her with the Lance Reaver. And one thing I didn't mention is these extra flyers who showed up as reinforcements are non-aggressive. They won't attack you unless you cut off their main path toward the objective. You don't have to completely surround them for them to attack you. Like if you make them detour around the sides, they'll also just try to block whoever's, or try to attack whoever's in their way. But they won't just run up and hit you if they have an open path to the goal. So what we want to do right now is, well, no matter what we do, Kagetsu and Zelkov are going to start moving up. When they do that, we prefer to have Zelkov get shipped on his way. So we're going to put Yunaka here, southwest of Chloe, inside Zelkov's range. And then Citrine can just go to this spot and weaken the flyer with fire. This is totally safe. Whereupon Chloe kills her.
I live to fight again.
This map is like Conquest Chapter 10's less cool brother. It really is. I wish it were just straight up a defense map, honestly, and you couldn't end it by defeating Ivy. But also, it's just not as... there's not as much going on as Conquest 10. It's a shame. Aliu's just going to move south of Chloe to support Yunaka, give her some extra damage, and that's all for now. We still want Chloe to have the Levin sword for the time being. Diamant can finish off this sword flyer. His personal skill gives him a lot of accuracy on player phase. It's kind of a shame it doesn't work on enemy phase too, because if it did, that would be amazing. But he has 99 hit with the Alright, he's 99 hit with his Lance Reaver. He has 100 with the Slim Sword. We do want him to be damaged, so if he hadn't taken a hit earlier, he could use the Iron Blade instead to take damage now. That way, Alcus would be able to target him with Mend. But he did take a hit, obviously, because my units can't avoid any attacks. So we don't have to worry about that. He can just attack with a Slim Sword straight up for a guaranteed kill.
The true battle is yet to come.
After that, we do need to make Diamant equip his Armor Slayer. We'll have Diamant fight the Axe Armor on enemy phase, so he needs the Armor Slayer to be able to one-round him. And at this point, Alfred can chip the... it doesn't really matter who he attacks, but we'll just have him focus on the flyer. Yeah. And he can just wait right there. Since we didn't need the Iron Blade, we're going to take that off of him when Alcris comes over here to heal Diamant. Because Lapis will want that later. So Alcris targets Diamant, he heals 4 people. And notably, he himself is not back to full HP yet. So I mentioned earlier that the sword flyers won't attack anyone unless you cut off their most direct paths to the goal. Those are kind of fuzzy terms because, like, this flyer really wants to go up this way, if possible. So, like, technically it's just as fast to go... Well, I guess the shortest path to the nearest goal tile is through this way, and that's only going north. Going right at all would have to deviate around this wall to this second floor tile. So she's looking and seeing my shortest path is going due north. If we block that with anyone, then the sword flyer, or the lance flyer rather, will attack. So if we put Vander here, he'll end up fighting the lance flyer in enemy phase. We'll have Amber wait right by Vander, and Lapis can go pick up her Iron Blade. Fran will run east because we're going to need to heal her on the right side as well. A little bit. Septi, you'll never forgive Ivy for not naming her wyvern. Maybe she, just like Lucina, couldn't find the right inspiration for a name until she got an Odin in her life. Owain. Regardless, we'll have Yunaka continue fighting Zelkov. Even with a crit, he would not kill her, so that's good. And now she can just go north. Get some healing in on Chloe. And then sometimes the enemy positions here vary a little bit because depending where Zelkov goes, this Axe Fighter might be blocked from this tile. He might go like here or here instead. Or yeah, just here. But no matter what, Zelkov will always be 2 spaces away from this square, so we can always have Chloe go here and use the Levin Sword to finish him off.
Oblivion is near.
That also puts Chloe in range of another mage, thankfully one without a wind tome this time. And of course she's able to counterattack because she has the Levin Sword equipped. We do want Alir to be next to Chloe on this upcoming enemy phase, like right here. We'll have her attack the Axe Fighter. For consistency's sake, because this Axe Fighter might be 1 space lower, I'm going to have her attack from the left and then canter back next to Chloe just to avoid getting that extra support point. Obviously we can't keep Citrine here because she will die to the Axe Fighter. So she'll just retreat and cut off the route for this other Sword Flyer. Because now she's seeing my fastest path is this way. Weirdly, I'm not sure if it's because the Sword Flyer has already been kicked off of her initial route that would have gone up this way or what, but when you put Citrine here, the Sword Flyer will not attack her, even though she's blocking the shortest path to the goal. So, go figure. We'll want to kill this Lance Flyer. This is like, I think the only person we're going to kill on this map who is worth experience and will not be killed by someone with an emblem ring. Just because Diamant and Alfred and Allcrest are all going to be busy with other things. So the way we'd like to do that is to have Amber fight once and also Lapis. And preferably they would get wounded while they're at it. So Vander just rides around here, southwest of the enemy. And that means that Amber can attack with the benefit of his personal skill, or the extra hit plus 20. So 100% hit with the Iron Lance. And now Lapis can come over here and finish her off, but similar to what we did with Alir that one time in Chapter 7, we're going to attack with the Iron Blade instead of the Iron Sword in the hopes that we get hit, so the Lapis will be able to be healed later on.
I won't let this go to my head.
Yes.
Because now Alchrist can run over here, and he's always able to target Vander. But now he gets to hit Lapis with Mind as well. Okay, and now we're left with just Alfred and Diamant, and this is where the fun begins. Diamant's strongest sword right now is, well, it's actually a three-way tie between Armor Slayer, Lance Reaver, and Steel Sword. You can use Blazing Lion on Kagetsu to deal 14 damage and also hit the Sword Flyer above. When he does that, we'll surround Kagetsu in flames, so Kagetsu won't be able to go to the east. He'll have to run west and attack Diamant or Alfred.
My name is Kaget.
I will win.
When Diamant gets to bond level 2 with Roy, Roy gives him an extra point of strength. So now he has 27 attack with the Steel Sword instead of 26. Kagetsu will lose 10 HP in the fire on the next enemy phase, so he'll be down to 11 HP. All you need to kill him when he's down to 11 is 23 attack. So Diamant has 27 with the Steel Sword, and with our Slim Sword that we forged up to +3, he has the 23 he needs. So we can switch him to that and still kill Kagetsu on enemy phase. But importantly, Kagetsu has a Wodao. He has 30 crit with it. And the Slim Sword completely negates that. So we take a pretty dangerous situation where we've got like Kagetsu with big crit and like a decent amount of damage, and really, even though this Diamant has good chances to hit, his accuracy isn't perfect here. But by trading and making him equip the Slim Sword instead of the Steel Sword, we've given him perfect accuracy and crit immunity. And Alfred is able to finish off this the Sword Flyer with the Javelin. This is why we forged up the part of why we forged up the Javelin to +1 is just to improve our hit rates here.
I win this one.
He's able to canter to the left. And because Alfred's defense stat is higher than Kagetsu, or higher than Diamant's, Kagetsu's going to see that either of them can kill him on the counterattack, I think. Pretty sure the AI does recognize that, even though it doesn't really factor it into its targeting. But more importantly, like Kagetsu could double could double Alfred. He can't double Diamant with the plus speed bonus from Roy's Rise Above. So Kagetsu sees, oh, I can double Alfred, even though Alfred kills me. I can't double Diamant. Normally that would mean that he would try to go for Alfred because the defense differential is not that big. But Kagetsu also sees, hey, this other sword fighter will provide a chain attack for me if I attack Diamant instead of Alfred. So he's going to... Basically he sees, oh, I get 2 attacks either way. I should go for this one on Diamant, which gets him killed. Very clean. That's our clue that Ivy's about to start moving. We want to keep away from her for the time being. And we're also really interested in recharging our emblems over here. Obviously, we're really far away from all the emblem energy pools, so we have to do that manually for everyone, except for Alchrist, who can just do it right now.
Give me an order.
Alir can work on her engage meter by coming over here, taking the 11 sword from Chloe, and attacking the sword flyer with it. The point being that Alir is also in range of a mage on the other side of the wall to the right. So with 11 sword, she's able to counterattack him as well. And that'll fill up the meter with Sigurd. We do need to get rid of this sword flyer. Vander can help with that by riding over this way. And after that, Chloe should be able to kill, and she takes a counterattack. So as long as she doesn't crit on her first attack here, she'll get 3 pips on her engage meter, which will restore Marth. Citrian can just run east for the time being, and Fram can wait right here. She doesn't need to heal anyone yet. Over on this side, once again, these sword flyers are not aggressive, but we do have to deal with the mages in this sword fighter. Alfred has a 100% hit on this mage with the Slim Lance, so we should take this now.
This is what I trained.
That should get him, first of all, the secret book, and then also bond level 7 with Celica. Here, he is similarly in range of a mage on the other side of the wall, so we need to return his throwing weapon to him. Diamant, unfortunately, now that Rise Above is gone, we're no longer engaged with Roy. He doesn't have quite as good chances to kill this sword fighter. The steel sword still has pretty good hit rates on player phase, but on enemy phase, it's a slightly different story. It is strong enough to kill. The only problem with attacking from here is he won't be able to get away from Ivy on our next turn. So instead of attacking on play phase, we are going to fight the sword fighter on enemy phase. But while Diamant waits here with the steel sword equipped, he can change off his weapon. And the sword fighter is going to see, okay, Alfred takes less damage than Diamant does, so we should target Diamant. Lapis should get out of the way of this flyer slightly. She'll just fly due north, so Lapis will be in position to chain attack against her in a moment. And last up is Amber, who just goes over here and hangs out for a bit. It is pretty annoying that Diamant's relying on an 82% there on enemy phase. If he misses it, it is possible to like do things a little bit differently. You're going to miss out on a little bit of experience because basically Lapis or Amber are going to have to take a kill that otherwise could have gone to Diamant. But otherwise, it's not that important. So now that we have Micaiah recharged, we can continue our practice of getting people damaged on purpose. This really does very little because it's not worth much experience for him to heal, but it's something. And it gets experience on Fram too. And now, if nobody's dodged too many attacks, then every single unit of ours on the map other than Lapis will be damaged. So when Alchrist runs down and engages Micaiah and uses Great Sacrifice again, this time he's healing, what, 9 people? Instead of just 4?
By any means necessary.
All right, so that's a big sacrifice. We got up to level 12 now, and we're not done. We can continue getting people hurt, starting with Vander attacking the 11 sword flyer here. And Lapis can do the same using the Iron Blade. We could have done this before the Great Sacrifice to let Alchrist heal Lapis instead, but we don't want to push... Like, basically the problem is if we push the Sword Flyer to the right first and then have Vander attack, he's going to be in range of Ivy. But if Vander goes first and is able to attack from above, and then we push the Flyer away, then he's not in range. Alfred can kill this one, and then because he has Canter, he's able to get away from Ivy.
I win this one.
And that recharges Celica, by the way. Diamant can kill the wounded mage, and while he's at it, we can make sure he gets a support point with Amber.
You put up a good fight.
We're on the right side. Now that we have Marth back, we can make Chloe use him
It's just like my
to kill the uppermost flyer and eliminate that threat. So she wants to use just Mercuria straight up. She'll break, so she won't take a counterattack here.
I won't let you do what you want.
We're not going to get everyone out of range of Ivy. We actually want to leave Yunaka in range so that she can apply poison and basically make it easier for us to finish off Ivy later on.
Whatever you
So Yunaka can go ahead and ship this Axe Flyer and then Canter one space to the north, where she'll still be in Ivy's range, but only at the very end of it.
My pleasure.
Citrine can attack this this mage. after that, we get to engage Sigurd again.
Emblem Engage.
And we'll override for this kill using the Rider's Bane is the strongest weapon we have. It doesn't, but Libration works too.
Raise your sword.
So now we got Divinely Inspiring on Yunaka to help her out.
With this emblem's strength and my own, there will be no defeating me.
There are 3 different places where Ivy could have attacked Yunaka from, either from due south or the southwest or the west. This one's, I guess, probably technically the best one because it's easiest to block her off here since she's up against this wall. But any of them can be made to work. The key idea is we're going to trap Ivy or block her off from this upper right area using Chloe and Alir. And that lets us, keep Yunaka and Citrine close as they chip these 2 flyers. So we'll start there. Alir can finish off this flyer because Chloe is going to take the kill on Ivy instead of going for this one. This kill should give Alir bond level 3 with Sigurd.
If this love is a crime.
So she'll get momentum just in time to not really use it that much in this mission, but hey, it's a bonus. Spooky. And then she waits above Ivy, which is pretty much always what you want to do. Wherever Ivy is, just put Alir immediately north of her. And then Chloe just attacks from whichever side blocks Ivy the most. So in this case, from the left. She should use Lodestar Rush for this, so she doesn't take damage.
Forgive me.
Yeah, you're not able to post links in chat, sorry.
I live to fight again.
I'm not sure if that's a setting I can toggle, actually. I don't think so, though. Regardless, we'll have Yunaka attack this Lance Flyer from the northwest. This is the one that doesn't have Void Curse. So, for whatever reason, they made 2 of the reinforcements on this map have Void Curse. The bottommost Lance Flyers on this turn. You don't get experience from fighting them, so they do basically nothing for you other than help you build support and potentially get your units wounded so you can heal them. After attacking, Yunaka will block this flyer from the north, and Citrine can attack that same flyer from immediately to the left. So it just goes to show you, I don't totally understand the AI in this map because now we are sort of blocking this Lance Flyer from 2 sides. I've got 2 units who are clearly cutting off its route to the northwest. But this flyer will happily just fly around and not attack. So I don't totally get it. Maybe you just have to be at the very end of their range and blocking their path or something. But I'm not totally sure. I just know this works. The danger here is, like, Ivy has killer axe that could, well, be a killer. So Fram moves down and chain guards for Lear. And since Ivy can't reach her at melee range, she also can't double her with anything. I mean, the Master Lance is a thing, but I'm actually not totally sure why Ivy doesn't try to use the Master Lance for a kill, because she could. 21 attack against 8 defense that strikes twice. But I think the hit rate is just so bad that she doesn't bother, or maybe she's scripted to target Lear. But anyway, chain guarding keeps Lear perfectly safe here. That takes care of the right side. On the left, we'll have Alfred engage Celica first.
My muscles are yours.
And that's, well, mainly so we can echo here twice with Seraphim, so we get some more chain attacks, and of course Alfred injures himself.
I'll help her. Here.
And since he's injured, he can be the focal point of another mend that targets 4 people. Now that she's been healed, Lapis should run over here to hit the Sword Flyer from the right side. And that sets up a kill for Diamant. Depending on, like, since Lapis missed a chain attack earlier, it's possible for Vander to step in and attack again. Which may end up being necessary if Lapis misses her chain attack another time, because Diamant's actually relying on that for this kill. Or wait, hold on. No, what am I talking about? We don't need to do that yet. We can wait for one more turn. And Vander just waits here, then this Sword Flyer will attack him again, and he'll get wounded again and all that. So we're fine with this. We'll just wait. Because Diamant doesn't have to attack this flyer yet. He has to attack this one, which he can do with his Slim Sword. Be followed by Amber attacking using his Great Lance so that he gets attacked before he breaks the enemy. Doesn't really have to hit because it doesn't matter whether we kill this Sword Flyer or not, since she gives no experience.
What a pleasure.
Alright, so this is going to be the final turn. Turn 8, we've got one last tournament, Micaiah to use, and Sigurd, and Marth, and sadly not Roy. Diamant can kill the Sword Flyer, as discussed.
I'll help.
Thank you, Lapis. After that, Lapis can run over here. We're going to set up another big mend, basically. Vander chips this enemy. Losing some frames here, unfortunately. Alfred can now finish off that Finish off an enemy Pegasus Rider with a spell on a guy who has like no magic, if you can believe it.
Grant me strength. May we all be protected.
And by killing an enemy with Warp Ragnarok, he gets to level 8 Bond, which unlocks favorite food. Hooray! We'll discuss that more in a future stream, I think, but it is an interesting option for Alfred to take before we get to Chapter 10. And for good measure, we can have Amber come over here, take the Javelin, and kill off that Void Curse flyer. So that gives us a 5-way heal, or 5-way mend rather, which will take Alchrist up one more level. He should end up with, I think, 330 SP from this chapter alone. Yep. Beautiful. So again, as I said when we were deploying people in the first place, this could have been basically anybody. And they would have all gotten essentially the same 330 experience. So if you want, like, whoever you want to train, if they're not yet ready for combat roles, they don't have like all the bond ranks with Marth or Sigurd or whatever, they haven't been trained to level 10, you can start stapling Micaiah to them now and in power level, and they'll keep up. Just the main thing you want to try to do with Micaiah is just get those AoE mends on a regular basis. So that's going to drive your SP gain more consistently than Great Sacrifice will. Even though Great Sacrifice can be bigger when you're at a lower level. If you're trying to make clan work, would Micaiah be good on him here? Yeah. If he's still a level 1 mage and you want to go the Mage Knight route, yeah, absolutely. You could start training him now by giving him Micaiah. Could have done that in the last mission too. Using clan in place of Yunaka for most things. Right, so we have 2 real enemies to kill still. We have Ivy, and then we have the one other Lance Flyer who doesn't have Void Curse. Yunaka can just build support by attacking this one first. Doesn't do anything other than that, but you do get credit for that round of combat. And Yunaka runs left. We want Chloe to finish off Ivy. She can do that unassisted, so it's not a... well, she's not totally unassisted. She's assisted by Alir. But if Alir moves away and Chloe has to attack without Divinely Inspiring, then she's short by 3 damage. So we want to make up for that by chipping with someone else, because we want to give this kill to Alir, and if we do that, then Alir can't be close enough to support Chloe anymore. So the method for that is to just have Citrine come in, preferably next to Alir, which you can always reach if we just move Fram away. So we'll have Fram step off 2 spaces away from the flyer who doesn't have Void Curse. So Citrine can come in next to Alir and attack with Thunder. And that means Alir can move away, take this kill. And with the Wodah just for fun.
There's nothing to fear.
We're at 1200 SP, or 1205 specifically with Alir, which is pretty impressive. And Chloe is currently at 1022 and not quite level 4. She's the last one to act. And when she does, she will finish off Ivy and she should go to level 4. All right. So yeah, Chloe's level 4 promoted, and keep in mind that's still just level 13. She's the same level as Alfred is. She won't gain much experience if she goes to the paralogues now, but when we go off to chapter 9, I think all the enemies there are level 12 or 13 too, so she can continue earning a lot of experience if you want to keep building up her SP, or you can train someone else. But that does finish the mission. When we explore the battlefield now, we'll get quintupled ore rewards and tripled bond fragments from being level 3 with Brodia. And as you can see, we've also just gotten 30,000 gold in military funds from Brodia and our 6th emblem finally. So having 6 emblems is the other nice thing about delaying the paralogues, because now you can get full SP rewards on everyone. That said, if you're deploying a whole bunch of units who are like level 13 or 12, it's not going to really help, because they're not going to gain much experience at all from maps with enemies at level 8. But if you want to train a variety of units who are all kind of under leveled, like you wanted to bring Citrine and Lapis and Etier and Boucheron and Louis and have them all fight stuff, you could give them all emblem rings and they would all get full SP rewards from that. So 10 steel ingots, and we should get, I think, 300 iron ingots. And of course 150 bond fragments. So taking a look at the squad now, at the end of chapter 8, we've got Alir most of the way to level 11 actually. She doesn't quite have bond level 5 with Sigurd, so she can't inherit Canter yet unless we train her in the arena some more, but she has more than enough SP for that. And it's actually well on her way towards qualifying for another big ticket item from the skill shop. I mentioned at the start of this stream before chapter 7 that with the way the distribution of SP books works out from the well, you have good chances. You're guaranteed, if you go 3 stars every time, you're guaranteed to get 500 SP. You have very good chances to get 1,000 SP, basically 5 novice books and 1 adept book. And a pretty good shot, it's like 89% to get 1,500. So if you get someone like Alir or Chloe to 1,500 raw SP, then you have very good chances to get, and you can dump all of that SP on them and get them to 3,000. So they could buy like Canter and Sword Power too, which is a really amazing boost for either of them. So that's one incentive to train everyone the hard way. Actually get 1,000 SP on everyone who want to get Canter by using them on maps and not just dumping your SP books on them. So then you can focus all your SP books on one of those really expensive skills that can dramatically improve someone's combat performance. The H, did you go over how the well drops work? I did. In brief, you basically always want to just run the 3-star well, and on average that'll sustain itself, so you have a constant source of at least 100 SP and potentially an extra 500 or 1,000 or 1,500 depending on your luck. It averages 450 per map, and that's a huge amount that pretty much means you can count on having 10,000 more SP in your campaign than you would have without it, and that's without counting any DLC maps or other benefits from the DLC. Anyhow, I want to continue looking through the roster. Obviously, Vander has still received very little training, although we did put him through the arena a few times, and he's gotten some bond ranks with Micaiah in case we want to make him staff bot for a while. Freya has just been Martial Monk this whole time. She's done just fine at that. She's one of those units who can benefit a lot from training if you do go with that. She has pretty good growths, and she's in a good SP situation, being starting at such a low level. She's pretty cool. Alfred's almost level 14 now, and he's only 47 SP away from getting 200, which will let him buy favorite food. So we could roll in, even without doing, we'll need like, what, 4 kills, 4-ish kills in Chapter 9 to get to a point where he can buy favorite food if you do nothing else with him. And that will set him up really nicely for the mid-game. In the Soul Mark, he's a really, really good Lucina holder because he's a bulky Cavalier, so he gets the Cavalry bonus to give 100% bonded shield to other Cavalry, including Wolf Knights and perhaps most importantly Mage Knights. And favorite food can maximize his uptime with that. So that's a really cool thing that is pretty much Alfred exclusive, because there's just not that many characters who are reasonably bulky on both sides, physically and in terms of resistance, and don't get doubled, and aren't so good stat-wise that you'd rather make them do actual combat. We've kind of ruined Yunaka's long-term potential by leveling her up so much, because she wants to get out of Thief, and getting out of Thief when you have to get all the way to level 21 is a real slog. And she's at a high enough level now where it doesn't really make sense to go pick a second seal and convert to some other class for a faster promotion either. But Yunaka's still really effective as a thief with Canter. She's done good work for us now, and she'll continue to do that for a while if we want her to. Alchrist is our enormous charity case, but you know, the charity is working out so far. Citrine and Lapis have just been along for the ride, so we haven't actually done much with them. Chloe's in amazing shape because she's the same level as Alfred, but actually has lower experience. She has more time to gain higher SP and experience rewards than Alfred does. But that said, she is way behind him in terms of actual SP count. Still, she has everything she wants. I'm not totally sure at this point whether it's feasible to get her to that 1500 SP threshold that Alear can easily reach. So I don't think... I think if you pushed it a lot, you probably could pull it off. Mainly by giving her Micaiah. If you could reach 1500 raw, then that would mean that she would have really good chances of carrying Sword Power 2 and Canter to the mid-game, and she would just crush it. But even without that, she can almost always get Sword Power 1, which is still amazing. Diamant is 65 SP away from getting Canter himself, and also 65 away from his next level. He's doing fine. Amber we've barely touched, and Atier and Boucheron we've neglected. Same with Louis. Saline is on the verge of leveling up, so like Chloe, we could promote her now and try to finesse extra SP out by not letting her level up. You'd be trading stats, some extra stats away for a little while in favor of faster SP gains. I don't really know if that's worth it, but it is an option. It's kind of neat. And otherwise, she's perfectly good just staying in Noble for a little while longer. You don't have to promote everyone to exactly level 10. It's not like getting them to level 12 or 13 or 14 or 15 will seriously hurt their long-term chances. And then Clan, still at level 1. He's our lowest level unit, but I think there's a lot of potential for him compared to several of these other people we've neglected. But I think one of the takeaways I want to give you guys coming out of this is, used properly, Micaiah training is really strong, and you can give that to anyone. So even if these people had been neglected before, we could have power leveled them and made them perfectly adequate members of the team. And now that we've delayed all those paralogues, we've got a whole bunch of low-level enemies that these people like Etier and Boucheron and Clan could now go clean up if they take Marth. They'll get tons and tons of experience from killing those people. So I think there is a lot of potential to customize your run and decide, okay, I'd love to use Amber or Etier or Clan or Louis, and say, okay, they're going to be my my designated trainee who's going to take over those paralogues and become my star unit. And I think that's exciting. Certainly more interesting than just powering through the entire game with all the busted pre-promotes, even though that is a perfectly valid option and it's probably the easiest way to play. Someone wants me to talk to Lapis, so I guess I will. Before we go. Where is she? Oh, there she is.
Sorry.
She feels bad because she got hit a lot and then healed a lot. So just looking through the chat, see if there are any other questions. Do you consider the air classes functionally the same as the classes they're based on? Like, you mean Tirure, Delite, and Successeur? Kind of? I mean, Alchrist is much better off having Tirure, Delite than Sniper, for sure. Because, like, Luna's not good, but it makes him at least adequate. And he'd be lost without it. Diamant, like, Successeur is pretty unique, actually. I think it does play very differently from Hero, because you do have the extra A rank in axes, so you can use Braves on both sides, which is kind of cool. And Silver Great Axe and Georgios, stuff with engage attacks. It is a cool thing that Diamant does that distinguishes him from just a regular hero. Hero is not a very good class, though. Edward says, Micaiah Chloe would be the most unreal early game favoritism possible. Yeah, that's very true. I kind of suspect that's worth it, though. Like, if you can use that to give yourself like an 89% chance of having sword power 2 and Canter on Chloe for the mid game, I can't stress enough how insane that is. Micaiah Chloe is funny because Nosferatu Griffin. That's also a thing I've never tried, and I think that would be really amusing. You mentioned reclassing Yunaka. What's optimal? I haven't tried this myself, but I know Septi tried Mage Yunaka, and she did pretty well. The only problem with Yunaka, well, there's a couple of problems with Yunaka. I shouldn't say the only problem. But one of her problems is she just doesn't get to a better class very quickly, and making... and if you go Mage immediately and then power level through that to get to promotion, that does work. Yunaka has a really good magic base because they kind of tried to make sure that she would look good using Micaiah. Her speed growth and magic growth are not overwhelmingly amazing, but they are adequate. So she can do a lot of the same Mage Knight things as several other units. It works. It's pretty cool. How am I going to get someone to 44 mag to 1 turn chapter 10? I'm not going to 1 turn chapter 10. Any other questions? Obviously, once we get back to the Somniel, we will we'll have a lot more to do with the new shops and everything, but we're going to save that for the next stream. But that is a topic that's going to be pretty interesting. Once we get access to not only the next Master Seal in the shops, but also the 3 second seals. I've kind of hinted at a couple things we want to do with those, but I think there are a couple different avenues to explore on that front. Who's the best mystical Corrin? I mean, if you're just using the Dragon Vein ability all the time, it doesn't really matter at all. I think that is one of those things that that Saline slots into really nicely, though. Because she does staff support pretty well, and she can just take over that non-combat role while also having decent Thoron chip and even mixed offenses, which make Corrin's engage attacks not great, but you know, they're more damaging than they could be otherwise. High Priest Saline is a great option for Corrin. Yes. That's one of the cool things Saline has, because she does have a tome proficiency. It's a little unfortunate that she doesn't get A rank staves in her personal class, but she can go to High Priest and retain A rank tomes while also gaining A staff rank. So she can use Entrap, and she has enormous luck, so she can abuse Divine Pulse Plus. But one thing I do want to point out is, although we've mostly been focusing all the experience in like 3 people per map, we do have a really good stable of people who are all more or less on track and like on par with the enemy levels now. We've got Diamant, who's nearly there for Canter. We've got Alchrist, who's now ahead of the curve. Yunaka got her training done. Alfred, Alir, and Saline. So, and Chloe. So that's what 7 people? Yeah, 7 different people, even though we've been focusing on a minority of our army at any one time. That's why I've said from starting back in, I guess, chapter 4 or 5, that if you want to build a balanced team with like 7 or 8 people who are all contributing, the best way to do it is to focus on a small subset of them at a time and cycle through. So pass Marth around, pass Micaiah around, and keep other people up by consistently using them with some of the other emblems like Celica and Sigurd. And then it all works out for you. And now we're at a position with the next paralogues available where we can train anyone we want. So, like, no matter who your favorite is, you can send them on an epic training arc and have a lot of fun with that. Okay. Let me just go make sure I didn't put any extra, any other topics I wanted to discuss. I didn't forget anything. No, I don't think so. I think we covered everything. So we'll go back to the Somniel now. We should see, we got 50 bond fragments from talking to Lapis at the request of chat. So we'll add that to whatever we see here to get our total for this map. 400, so 450 coming out of here. Okay, so we'll save right here. I do plan to do another stream in this same vein, covering at least more of the Brodia arc. I'm not sure exactly how far we're going to go, but I want to cover at least the paralogues in Chapter 9. So hopefully that'll all be lined up. And while we're doing that, we'll have a lot of things to go over. We'll have the new stuff at the shops. We have our new emblems. Now that we have 6 emblems, it'll be interesting to see how we distribute all of them as we're going through our next little training arc. With those emblems, we get new engravings that will, and now that we're no longer in so much of a bond fragment crunch, we can maybe apply more of those. And yeah, there's lots of cool stuff to see next time. So there will be another one. And let me see. Who do I think Leaf is good on? I don't think anyone's particularly amazing with Leaf right now. There are some kind of cool things he can do later on. But for the time being, like, you can't really abuse Vantage that much at the moment. and that's his biggest selling point. You can do like Vantage citrine if you really dedicate yourself to it, but that's a lot to ask. But yeah, I don't expect to like get a lot of mileage out of Leaf for combat purposes in the next few chapters, but he's still going to be pretty helpful. So I look forward to seeing you guys again, and we'll be back next time for the next part of the Brodia arc. Thanks for watching. I'll see you then.